increment series, we will be starting off a fresh chapter in module B of IE and IFS, that is money, supply and inflation. Now, when we talk about this module overall, module B, we have certain most important topics, most important chapters altogether. And if you ask me, the most important chapter is your unit number 14th. From here, you can expect good number of questions as well as numericals. So this unit will lay a foundation of numericals in your curriculum of IE and IFS, and also will define certain terms which will not be only used in unit 14th but also in future chapters. You will be learning about inflation in this particular unit, but you can utilize the concept of inflation in the monetary policy chapter. Also, when we talk about the day-to-day happenings where we read a lot about inflation, you will be able to make much more sense after this lecture that why inflation study is much more important. So let's get started. First thing first, what is the meaning of inflation? What do we mean by inflation? We will move to the causes also, but what is inflation? So, very simple definition of inflation, which you will also relate to, it is that a sustained price rise. Fine. When we talk about the price rise, that everybody knows that yes, if certain commodity is having a price rise, then the price levels are changing to a higher zone. But if that high price is sustained over a period of time, over let's suppose 1 month, 2 month, and so on, and ultimately it directly hits the pocket of the masses, then we say that in our economy we can see inflation. Fine. Normally, even when the prices are not high, we feel as a particular economy that something is not right. There might be deflation. The prices are not rising, in fact, they are falling. And our economy is not behaving like what it used to behave or what is expected out of our economy. So, complete reversal of the process of inflation is deflation. Both are very, very important. Both must be kept in check. So, the sustained price rise leads to inflation. But what are the causes of this price rise? That we will be learning in the causes of inflation. So, first cause, the most common cause, which we say, which the producers say, it is the demand pull. Demand pull means simply the demand is high, way too high as compared to the production level. The production level is not at all in sync with the increased demand. Suddenly, for example, the sneakers which are of US dollar 100 $100, you used to have a pair of sneaker. Now, because of high demand and low production level, the prices have risen to 150 US dollars, and customers are happily paying the price. Why? Because these are the exclusive sneakers. Right? So remember we were studying the unit number 13th where I told you that there are mainly two forces only. One will be the demand, another will be supply when we study the price levels in an economy. So demand is created by whom? By the consumers. And supply is being ensured by the suppliers, or for that matter, you can say the business firms. So whenever there is a price change, a price increase, thanks to the sudden increase in demand by the consumer, then we call it as demand pull. The demand for goods or services exceed the production capacity. On the other side, the second one, that is cost push, arises when the production cost increases the price. Let's suppose that one balloon used to cost $5 one balloon. Now suddenly the price has increased to $10 per balloon. But what is the reason? Whether the consumers are buying too much or for that matter production level is not high? No. The reason is underlying production cost. The helium gas which used to produce these balloons, now the price of helium cylinder is way too high. It has doubled. Earlier it was priced at $10, now it is of $20. So because of the production level, because of the prices of the production moving upwards, we have increase in the final product's price. This type of inflation is known as cost push. So in order to make things simpler, how you can remember, if somebody is saying to you that this particular product is expensive thanks to the consumers, then they are talking about the demand pull inflation, because demand will be created by the consumers. And when we talk about the business firms making the production at a higher level, doing the production at higher cost level, ultimately supplying you the final product at higher cost, that type of inflation is called as cost push. Third one, not so important and not so common also, is your built-in inflation, where the idea is very much simple. As the prices increase, the laborers, or for that matter the workers, they force the authorities to increase their wages also in sync with the increased price. Although we feel that this is the solution, this is the best solution which we can have, that increase their wages, and they will be able to buy the goods at higher price also. But in long term you will find what, that as the prices are high and now you are increasing the wages also, though the spending capacity of the consumers have suddenly increased, and this increased spending capacity will ultimately lead to what, demand pull inflation. Fine, your capacity to spend money is more now, but the production capacity has not increased in sync with that, so it will ultimately lead to more inflation, giving you a vicious cycle of inflation. And nowadays the built-in inflation is also not very common. Why? Because now the labor policies are in sync with the strict laws. The unions are much more weaker as compared to the earlier times. Fine. When the price rises, wages rises too, in order to maintain the living cost, and ultimately it creates a vicious cycle. But for our exam, focus only on demand pull and cost push inflation. Now comes a question that how you can know that what is the inflation rate. We are talking about the index, price index will be there. The first thing will be price index, which you will calculate how? Utilizing the data from various consumables. You will analyze and form one index. Then second, from this particular index of, let's suppose, current month and of the previous year's same month, you will be able to calculate the rate of inflation, which will be in percentage form. This is what we see in the news. We see now that inflation has risen or fallen to this much. Now, in India, it is falling down rapidly. But normally, when we talk about the inflation rate, we say that 2.1% is the inflation rate for June 2025. Now, for December month, it has fallen way below 2%, like that. So how we are calculating this in the percentage form? Using the price indices. And these price indices are what? These are being calculated utilizing the data of various commodities which we consume on regular basis. So the annual rate of inflation during a month is calculated by using the price index of that month in the current year, that is 2026 January, if you want to calculate, comparing it with the price index during the same month, January of the previous year, that is 2025. Like that, you can calculate the rate of inflation for January 2026. Now, in order to make things easier for you, let's have an example of rate of inflation. Let's try to calculate it utilizing the data from May 2022 and May 2021. Here, the price index is given for May 2022 as 183.40, and 176.20 is the price index for the May month in 2021 year. How you can calculate the inflation rate? So the present years, fine, present years index, you have to subtract it from the previous year's index. Right? Same month, but year will change. Divide by the previous year's data, and finally multiply this number with 100 to calculate the data in percentage format. Okay, so simply 183.40 minus 176.20, divide by 176.20, multiply by 100, you will get 4.09% as the rate of inflation. Fine. So no matter what data is given to you, whether it is for 2022, 23, 24, 25, all you need to have is the base data, which will be the previous year's data of same month, and you can easily calculate the inflation rate. So if you know the index number for present year as well as the previous year, you can finally calculate the rate of inflation. Now comes the question that in our country, how is this index calculated? Because using the index only you are calculating the rate of inflation. Na? So in our country, we have two types of price index. First one CPI, second one WPI. The consumer price index is more or less calculated for the items at retail level, which is more relevant for the consumers. WPI on the other hand, we calculate it on the wholesale level. Earlier, in our country, we used to calculate the inflation rate using the WPI. But now RBI has switched from WPI to CPI to calculate the rate of inflation in our nation. So CPI is of four types. Right? The consumer price index is of four types. Why four types? Because we do not need to overlap various data in different segments so as to have a comprehensive set of rate of inflation which we calculate in the end. So CPI for industrial worker, there is one particular segment for that. Then agricultural laborers, again another set of data will be there. Then CPI for rural laborer. Mind it, all these three will be issued, or for that matter, compiled by the Labor Bureau. And Labor Bureau works under the aegis of Ministry of Labor and Employment. The more relevant one, the more important one for our study would be CPI combined. Although consumer price index is for the rural, for the urban, but the combined data is what we utilize for the final calculation of rate of inflation. So these three numbers, or for that matter, these three indices will be published by the NSO under the aegis of Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. Right? Now comes the next question, that what is the target? In our country, there is so much of discussion around inflation. So there must be a target that yes, the inflation should be less than this or more than this. So we have decided that there will be a range. The base number is 4%, and the band will be formed, the tolerance band will be formed by adding and subtracting 2% from this 4. So on a number line, it will look like this. 4% plus 2 means 6%, minus 2 means 2%. So a range of 2 to 6% must be maintained by the RBI, because RBI's monetary policy is ultimately working towards maintaining the inflation levels in our country. Right? So you should remember this range. We'll be looking into this range again in the monetary policy chapter. But yes, if you already know, it will be better. Right? Now let's elaborately study that what is this CPI, Consumer Price Index, which we say that is relevant for consumers. First of all, let's see this data. Here, the screenshot is taken from the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation website only, where we have the data for May 2025 and June 2025. The inflation rates are mentioned, fine, year on year inflation rate, which is based on the consumer price index. These are what? These are the inflation rates. These are not the CPI, fine. CPI is just an index, right? So you must know each and every minute things also, that how CPI is measured, how you measure the inflation rate, and ultimately what should we study. Okay, so here you can see that the combined inflation, combined, that is rural and urban CPI numbers, give us one CPI based inflation rate as 2.10%. So we can easily state that in June 2025, the number, or for that matter, inflation rate in our country was 2.10. What is the number or the inflation rate for December 2025? You should answer this particular question in the comment section. We will be covering that in our paid classes. We have already discussed a number of times. But for all of you, a question out in the open, that what is the ultimate number for inflation rate for your December 2025, the data which will be asked in the actual examination. So CPI simply it reflects the change in level of prices of basket of goods and services consumed by the households. So what all is included in these basket of goods and services? Simply all those items which you consume on regular basis, be it on daily, weekly, monthly, or for that matter annual basis. The prices are measured at retail level. Retail level means business to consumer level. We are not at all interested in B2B or business to business price level check, which will be done using the WPI. Now, there is a concept known as core inflation, which is defined using the CPI. Core inflation is calculated by removing from the price index the effect of volatile food and energy components. So when we talk about the overall basket of goods and services, you will find two components as food component and energy component. When you subtract these two components from the entire CPI calculation, you will get what? The core inflation. So always remember which two components you have to ignore, you have to remove in order to arrive at the core inflation. These are food and energy components. The current CPI is having a base year, that is 2012. And when we say that this base year will change soon, we are talking about mid 2026. We are expecting that by mid 2026 it will change to 22-23. But as of December 2025, no such change has happened. Although it is in the final, you can say, pipeline, the last stage is there where the approval is required. That's it. But yes, for our exam, updates till December will be asked, and till December there is no such update, no finalization is there. It collects, the CPI collects the corresponding CPI for rural, urban, and combined. Right? So index you will find for rural, for urban, and for the combined rural plus urban. CPI for both all India and all the states and UTs, they are published by NSO, your National Statistical Office, through personal visit by the field staff. So the field staff of NSO's Field Operation Division. Fine, we have the FOD, Field Operation Division, under the NSO, who will be visiting the staff of your Field Operation Division will be visiting the people, or for that matter markets, on regular basis, and they will calculate the data. And this particular NSO works under the Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So NSO releases information on CPI on monthly basis. So regularly you will find the data on month basis, and this is how they will be revealing the data every month. Right? Year on year inflation based on CPI. For December, it will look like this: November 2025 and December 2025. But mind it, again I am saying the index is based on the previous years. For November 2025, you must know November 2024's data. For December 2025, you must know December 2024 data. Next is your wholesale price index, the WPI. Here also the you can say final index is measured utilizing the various bands, various you have data points, like the basket of goods will be there, but the price change in the basket of goods is at wholesale level. We are more or less interested in business to business component of the entire you can say economy. So this was it for today's class. If you want more elaborate discussion in line with the WPI, or for that matter IIP, Index of Industrial Production, and then you have the GDP deflator also, plus you want to cover the entire course of JIIB with us, then we have the apt solution for all of you, that is in the form of JAB Increment Mahapack. Here not only you will get the JAB Mahapack 2.0, but also JAB Increment box will be delivered at your home. So in the JAB increment box, you get the 4 practice books plus formula sheet and study planner, and the online classes will be there under the JAB Mahapack 2.0. The live classes will be there. The recorded classes of these live classes will also be uploaded. Mock tests will be there, full length as well as unit wise mock. Ebooks are also available. Plus, along with that, the most important part or the USP of Mahapack is that not only the regular batches, but you will be having the access to the revision classes also. And here at ADA 247, we provide good amount of classes under the revision batch also, be it in the power pack revision or for that matter your crash course. The coverage is top notch. Okay, so this was it for today's class. If you have any doubt regarding the topics which we have done today, feel free to ask me in the comment section. For more details regarding the Mahapack, you can call us on 0981 981 9247. All the best.